Your AI doesn't think. And before you close this video, I'm not saying it's dumb. I'm saying something stranger. In the 2 seconds between you hitting enter and the first word appearing, there is no thinking in there at all. There is a single trick, repeated very fast, and once you see the trick, you will understand every weird thing this machine has ever done to you. Why it can't count the letters in strawberry. Why it forgets the rule you gave it 10 messages ago. Why it folds the moment you push back. One trick explains all of it. Stay with me, because we're going to follow one message all the way through the machine. You type a question and hit enter. The first thing that happens is the machine destroys it. Before your words reach anything intelligent, a little program called a tokenizer chops your sentence into chunks a few characters long. Not words. Chunks. Sometimes a chunk is a whole word, sometimes it's half a word, sometimes it's a piece of punctuation clinging to a space. And here is the part that matters. From this moment on, the model never sees your letters again. It sees chunk IDs, numbers. Which is why when you ask it to count the letters in a word, it's like asking someone to count the bricks in a wall from a photo of the whole building. It was never given the bricks. It was given the building. So now your message is a list of numbers, but they're not ordinary numbers. Each chunk gets swapped for a long list of coordinates, and those coordinates place it somewhere in a space with thousands of dimensions. Words that mean similar things sit near each other in that space. King and queen, Paris and France, coffee and morning. Nobody typed those relationships in. They fell out of reading more text than any human could read in 1,000 lifetimes, because words that get used the same way drift to the same neighborhood. Meaning, in this machine, is literally a location. Here's where it gets good. Your chunks now pass through a mechanism with the most misleading name in all of tech: attention. Forget the mystique. Attention is this. Every chunk of your message looks at every other chunk and asks, "How much do you matter to me?" The word it looks back through the sentence, hunting for what it refers to. The word bank checks whether river or money is nearby. Every word, interrogating every other word, all at once. That's the whole magic. And the model does this not once but dozens of times in a row, each pass building a slightly deeper read of what you actually meant. Picture a building with dozens of floors. Your message enters at the ground floor as barely digested chunks. Each floor runs that attention trick again and passes the result up. By the middle floors, the machine has worked out grammar, references, tone. By the top floors, it's tracking things we don't fully have names for, because nobody designed what each floor does. We built the building and poured text through it, and the floors organized themselves. That's not an exaggeration. And it's why even the people who build these things run experiments to find out what's happening on floor 30. And now, the top of the building. The moment of output. Everything so far was preparation for a single act, and it is almost insultingly simple. The machine produces a score for every chunk in its vocabulary, and those scores answer exactly one question. What is likely to come next? Not what is true. Not what is helpful. What comes next? One chunk gets picked, glued onto the text, and the entire process runs again for the chunk after that. Every essay, every poem, every line of code you have ever seen an AI produce was built one next chunk at a time by a machine that never sees more than one step ahead. That's the trick. That's the whole trick. But wait. If it's just picking the most likely next chunk, why doesn't the same question give the same answer every time? Because it doesn't always take the top pick. There's a dial, and the industry calls it temperature. Turned down, the machine takes the safest chunk every time and sounds like a legal document. Turned up, it gambles on lower-ranked chunks and sounds creative, right up until it sounds unhinged. Every answer you've ever gotten was one roll of weighted dice after another. You've been talking to a very sophisticated slot machine that read the internet. Now you can understand the famous failure. The machine makes things up, and it does it in perfect, confident prose. Here's why. Remember, the scores only measure what plausibly comes next. A fake citation is often more plausible looking than a true one, because it's shaped exactly like every real citation the machine ever read. And there is no separate little judge inside, checking facts before the chunk ships. Fluency and truth are made by the same mechanism, which means the lie comes out wearing the same suit as the truth. The machine isn't lying to you. It has no idea it's guessing, because knowing you're guessing requires a kind of self-checking it simply does not have. Chapter 4 of your frustrations. It forgets. You told it, no bullet points. 10 messages later, bullet points. Here's the mechanism. The model has no memory between messages. None. Every single time you send something, your entire conversation is fed back through the building, from the top. What it has instead of memory is a window, a hard limit on how much text fits through in one pass. When your conversation outgrows the window, the oldest text gets pushed out. And what's the oldest text in almost every long chat? Your instructions. It didn't forget your rule. Your rule fell off the edge of the page it rereads every turn. So, put the rule in your newest message, not your first one. Position beats repetition. So where do the scores come from? Training, Part 1. The machine reads. Books, code, encyclopedias, forums, arguments, fan fiction, the whole sprawling mess of human text, and for every scrap it plays the same game. Guess the next chunk. Get corrected. Adjust. Repeat trillions of times. Nobody teaches it grammar. Grammar is just a pattern you need in order to win the guessing game. Facts are patterns. Style is a pattern. Reasoning, or something that looks remarkably like it, turns out to also be a pattern, at least often enough to be useful. The model is what you get when you compress nearly everything humans have written into a machine for continuing it. But a machine that just continues text is feral. Ask it a question, and it might continue with 3 more questions, because that's what internet text does. So there's a second phase, and this is the one that explains the personality. Humans are shown 2 candidate answers and pick the one they prefer. A second model learns to predict those preferences, and the main model gets tuned to score high on them. Run that loss function, and there's exactly one thing being optimized. Be the answer the human picks. There is no term for truth, and people, measurably, prefer answers that agree with them. When researchers pushed back on 10 different models across 7 tasks, the models flipped their answers 46% of the time and got 17 points less accurate doing it. Your AI folds when you push back because folding is what got picked. It was finished, in the finishing school sense, into agreeableness. So what about that box that says thinking? When the model appears to reason step by step, here's what's mechanically happening. It's generating chunks it doesn't show you, using its own output as scratch paper, because writing out intermediate steps makes the final next chunk predictions land better. It's the same trick as everything else, aimed at itself. Which is genuinely useful, and also genuinely not a mind pausing to reflect. It's the machine talking to itself in the only language it has. More next chunks. Now the strange blind spots make sense as one family. It can't reliably count letters because it doesn't see letters. It doesn't know today's date because there's no clock in the building, just text. It can't tell you why it said something because the why was a billion scores it has no access to. And it can't know what it doesn't know because doubt isn't a chunk. Every one of these is the same fact wearing different costumes. The machine lives entirely inside text, and everything outside text, including itself, is invisible to it. So here's the honest picture. It's not a mind. It's also not a parrot. And anyone who tells you either is selling something. It's a third thing we've never had before, a mirror of everything we've ever written, polished until it answers back. When it's brilliant, it's reflecting the best of a million people who wrote before you. When it flatters you, it's reflecting what we picked. When it lies, it's reflecting how confident we sound in text whether we're right or not. You're not talking to an intelligence. You're talking to the written residue of everyone, arranged to continue your sentence. And if that's the machine, 5 rules follow, and everyone comes straight from the mechanics. 1. Never tell it what you think before you ask, because agreement is what got picked. Ask clean, then compare. 2. Put your rules in the newest message, because the oldest text falls off the page. 3. When it must count or spell, give it the pieces, spaces between letters, because then each letter becomes a chunk it can see. 4. Ask it to write out its steps on hard problems, because its own scratch paper genuinely improves the next chunk math. And 5. Treat every fact it gives you as a plausible-shaped guess until you've seen a source. Because plausible-shaped is precisely, mechanically, what it was built to produce. And here is the good news in all of this. The machine is not magic, and it is not a mind, which means it can be learned. You now know more about what is actually happening in there than most people who use it every single day. Every weird answer, every confident mistake, every forgotten rule, you will see the mechanism behind it now. That is the machine. One trick, a trillion repetitions. And as of today, you know the trick. Follow Kompile for what is under the hood.